to the first, the last, the Nerdom, the podcast and the video show where we wander through the strange forces of film history, follow the symbols carved into the trees of cinema, and examine the legends that whisper through the dark quarters of nerd and genre culture. And this week is extra special because not only are we wrapping up Found Footage Month, we are officially celebrating our Halloween episode. Yes, we're on camera. Yes, you can see us. And yes, we're actually dressed up. Maybe. We went full commitment, Stu's makeup, spooky vibes, everything short of wandering into the woods to film this intro with shaky cam and soggy boots. Consider this pumpkin spice method acting. And we have finished this week with the one that defined a genre, Generation of Fear, the 1999 phenomenon, the indie legend, the film that made us all stare into the woods a little too long and wonder if something was staring back. The Blair Witch Project. Before the horror marketing went viral, before ARGs blurred the line between fiction and reality, before every horror fan had strong feelings about shaky cameras and abandoned tents, there was this three filmmakers, a camcorder, a map they should have guarded with their lives. A myth so convincing it had audiences questioning what was real. This movie didn't need monsters on screen. It lived in the unseen, the unknown, and the sound of twigs snapping just out of frame. It made dread personal, panic intimate, and fear uncomfortably quiet. Tonight, we'll talk about how it changed horror forever, how a tiny budget turned into a genre revolution, how the film still crawls under your skin without ever showing you the threat. We'll explore its legacy and its controversy, and why, even after all these years, just thinking about someone standing silently in the corner can make blood go cold. So carve your pumpkins, turn off your flashlight, and for the love of all things spooky, do not toss the map. This is the first, the last, the Nerdom. This is our Halloween special, and tonight we get lost in the woods with Blair Witch Project, and hopefully we make it out. Oh,
Yes,
okay.
I can hear you, Clem Fandango.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, yes. All right. So, love it, love it, love it, Tom. This is one of our favorite times of year. It really, really, actually, it's very close to our normal, like when we started doing this whole thing, which is coming up next week, next weekend, I should say. Which stay tuned if you want to know what we're gonna maybe do something around that at flying by the seat of our pants here. But yeah, this is one of my favorite times of year as well. I know it's yours. It's yours for you too, Tom. So I am none other than Stephen Toast, with the the bumbling self arrogance that you should know that I am right about everything, Tom, and you will know that I'm right about everything. But with that being said, we are Mike and Tom, and this is the first, last, and Nerdom.
Yep, and yeah, and I'm your kindly neighborhood black metal singer or band member, whichever. I didn't go for a specific one. They do their own little special black eye makeup, and I'm not that talented yet. I'm just getting used to having a full head of hair and the face paint. With the lights beaming on you, I could see where that would it wouldn't be comfortable. so I feel their pain. Somewhat.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And with that being said, we're gonna snap to it here and hit up the before we get to the main event here. Who are we? We're going to refresh this real quick. We are the first, the last, the Nerdom. You can always find us on our home base here at FirstLastNerdom.com. That's always available. And you can, as I scroll down here, it always has a rotating carousel of our last 10 videos that we've put out. So all of that wonderful things here, you can see us live here right now, right there, but and whatnot. But with that, Gonna also skip over to our shorts. I want to draw your attention to Space Ghost comic. Tom did a short there, wonderful. This is also home base for us on YouTube, where you can find us doing all the things. And on the from the Reddit department, we have our vice president of social media operations, Tom. You have the Reddit. Did they give you any love, or are they still assholes?
I should have put my we should have put our names underneath it. I could have been Grim Tom and you could have been
Oh God,
Toast
yeah,
under your name.
I've done that. Yeah, well,
But oh well. But yes, Grim Tom is on First Last Nerdom on Reddit, and I promote your stuff. Sometimes you know, Reddit will delete my post. Sometimes it won't. I think I got through on Hannibal with one of the pages, and the other it said nope. and
yes, it looks
so
like
yeah,
it.
and so yeah, you might see me promoting your stuff there if you're coming over from Reddit. Hello, Reddit people. And then on X, I'm on as First Last Nerdom. If you want to know about our latest video, latest greatest video, I'll post it there so you can keep up to date with us there. And then, Mike, you have some social media as well.
I do. I do. I too am also on X. Thanks for the ad. I don't care. I'm not going to get verified. I am at ApeIt_Ink on X, and occasionally I'm going to unthaw out here. Probably by around the end of the year, we'll see. I don't know. Like Tom knows me. I get moody with these social media things, and I hot and cold. So I'm just seeing that. But anyway, if you see me here, you can see me there, and you can request to follow me, and I will follow you back. Also, of same name, ApeIt.Ink. This is the long form content where it's things I like to do and whatnot. Haven't written for nothing this year, really, but not much to write about. It's the same thing. But with that being said, we are here to the main event here, the Blair Witch Project, one near and dear to my hearts. One that before you, I would say there was also the Blair Witch Project, which changed my opinion on horror to like where it opened the door for me to like look at other horror films that were after this genre. And I was stoked about the Blair Witch. Like we did the whole, trying to scare my cousins and my sisters, my aunts, anybody who was susceptible to a kind of a jump scare thing. When this movie came out, I remember it very well because it was such guerrilla marketing. It hit me in Wisconsin, of all places to like, if you can get to a teenage kid in Wisconsin, not metropolitan Wisconsin, we're talking about like rural Wisconsin, semi-rural college town, maybe if that. But I remember that, and I remember like kind of making the twigs and like screwing with, and trying to scare family, scare sisters and brothers, my brothers too. But they're my brothers. They learned what to do from me. But I remember seeing this, and I remember loving it. It's one of my favorite films. Just nostalgia picks. Never mind if it's good or bad. Doesn't matter. It's always going to be in my top list of things. When I think about found footage, I think about this. I can't help this, and I love to revisit this every once in a while. And it never wears itself out. And I even like kind of going into the bona fides here of this thing. Some people don't like the follow up to this, which was Blair Witch 2. They don't care for it, whatever. I liked it. It was by the way, it was completely, people didn't like it because it was completely different from what they got with Blair Witch. But obviously this is like kind of hard to replicate without people seeing it, doing it, and then other ones copycatted from it. But it was very successful, very low budget, under the radar, type film that can't. Anyway, I love a lot about this film. But what is your history with this film, my friend?
Yeah, well, the fact both of us grew up with the internet. I
Right.
tapped in a little. It wasn't available to me until much later in my early 20s. But yeah, the when it came out in 1999, that was right when the internet was kind of creeping in, and I was big into I was the big horror nerd. I was collecting Fangoria magazine, so I knew about this movie. I knew, and I was collecting issues of Film Threat when I saw them on the newsstand. Wasn't always available to me, but I got it when I could. So yeah, I'd read about this, and it sounds like you were in on the thing. A lot of people at the time thought it was maybe real. A
Yeah, I
lot of
remember
people that
that.
went to it. Um, and I remember going. I don't know if it was opening night. I usually didn't go until it had been out a few days. A movie I don't necessarily like a packed audience, but I remember it being packed, and when I saw it, and everybody was in on the movie. I mean, in as they were clued in. They knew either whether they knew it was real or not. They were clued in that this was something that they needed to see, and everybody. It's one of those few movies I've seen a few like Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me, where the audience, and then also South Park, that movie, the South Park theatrical movie, everybody knew what they were in for. A lot of times when you go to the movies, you there was the audience, some of the audience just show up because, oh, it's a movie and I'm going to see a movie. They don't know
Right.
what to expect, but everybody in the audience knew what to expect, or knew what they were in for, and were psyched for it, and were pumped and ready for it. So by the end of, you could sense that energy about you in the theater. And yeah, and this was one of those movies where um it, I kind of go back and forth. The arguments between the different characters, Heather, Mike, and Josh, they kind of wear on you after a little while. But that ending of the movie always gets me. That I mean that payoff at the end is legendary. And yeah, it was, it put, obviously found footage on the map. Not that it hadn't been done before, as we've kind of explored with some of our movies, but yeah, it's the thing that blew it up. And yeah, it's it has a definite place in horror history, definitely.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, I mean and the one to one to this is very one to one. This is a very simple film made with hundreds of thousands of dollars. Some say 200K, some say three-quarters of a mil, whatever. It doesn't matter. Fractions of a penny for a normal Hollywood film, and it did phenomenal. And it was it's one of the most profitable independent films ever made, just by the numbers
Yeah.
alone. I mean, by the mathematics. But after
Yeah,
doing the math, though, like you have Heather and Josh and Michael, and you get to know these characters, and there's this rising tension and rising alarm and panic that is just on the cusp until you know it
yeah. And
until it
yeah.
manifests on and what manifests is an experience. I'll put it that way.
Uh, Absolutely. And I do have to recommend, I give you the link for it, the Blu-ray special limited Blu-ray on Second Sight. It's really dark, so you can't really see it, but the thing about this is it has the theatrical cut, but it also has the festival cut. And the festival cut is what they showed at Sundance, which is a little bit longer. It's about 4 minutes longer. It's missing a what some say is a crucial scene. We'll get that into that a little bit later. But the thing that was the star of this Blu-ray is there's a 2.5 hour documentary on this thing. It also has the Curse of the Blair Witch, which is the sci-fi special that they did that had all the it was like a documentary about the Blair Witch. That they were going to include that documentary stuff in Blair Witch, but decided to cut it all out. So it's there on the little sci-fi special that they included on here. There's like an hour and a half of deleted scenes. They ran out of time and didn't get a chance to watch all of those, although I'll probably go back and watch that at one point. As for alternate endings for Blair
Hmm.
Witch, and there's a interview with the two directors at Cannes. But the 2.5 hour documentary is great. It's talking to the directors and the producers and some of the people that were involved in making Blair Witch. It's very exhaustive. It's, everything you want to know about Blair Witch is within that 2.5 hours. So definitely a recommend. It is, however, on a UK Blu-ray, so you have to have a region-free, not your everyday
Right.
American Blu-ray is going to play this. You got to get a region-free, although they're available on Amazon. So I'd say grab if you are a Blair Witch fanatic and you don't have this, grab a region-free Blu-ray player. They're available just by searching for them on Amazon, and then go to Second Sight's website and get you this Blu-ray because it's well worth it if you are a fan. Like I said, the festival cut is has a little bit of extra scenes. There's Josh and Heather argue quite a bit in the movie, and there's a little bit more arguments in that. That's what they kind of cut out a little bit of in the from the festival cut to the theatrical because with Heather arguing as much as she did, it kind of made her a little less sympathetic. So they cut out some of that, and then the ending was a little bit confusing, so they added in one extra interview with a resident of Burkesville, where he explains about the killer and having the kid look at one of the kids look at the wall while he kills another one. That was added to give more context to the ending. So that was I think it's to the benefit of the movie to include that. So, but yeah, I'd say stick with the theatrical cut, but the festival cut's definitely something to kind of check out as well.
Well, I need to buy that. I am a nerd about, and of course, this was the really breakout kind of thing that made this found footage thing a thing. Buoyed and helped by its also guerrilla marketing. Very under the radar, very word of mouth. That later went on to inspire other horror film like it, semi like it, but kind of
Mhm.
the fourth wall is kind of played with a little bit in these that I'll say like Paranormal Activity, 2007. That's one that's one we've kind of talked about on the sidelines a little bit.
Mhm.
And there's also that Record one. I haven't seen that one, but there's also, and
That
you
one's good.
mentioned it,
Hmm.
Cloverfield too, which came out in
Hmm.
2008, which also had some other connective things that happened down the line.
Hmm.
But all these things are out there, and there actually is news of a new one in development.
Hmm.
That's could be happen. It couldn't happen. Who knows? But
Hmm.
as we
Yeah.
get into this thing, though, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Obviously,
In the research, I found that Jason Blum had turned down taking on Blair Witch, which you horror heads out there know about Bloom and Bloomhouse, his big company that pumps out a ton of horror.
I'll
He
be
went
right
on
back,
to
Tom.
do all right. But he went on to do Paranormal Activity, and was very successful. I think once that came out and he understood what Blair Witch was, he kind of understood what was going on there, and he was able to do that with Paranormal, and that became a very successful franchise. Whereas Blair Witch had the sequel that was kind of the antithesis of of the original Blair, and kind of was kind of lukewarm for them. Now to talk about the how this movie started off. Ed Sanchez and Dan Merrick are the creators, writers, directors. They were kind of they had just went to see Freddy's Dead, one of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, one of the lesser quality ones of that series, and they were talking about how horror had kind of died, that there wasn't any really good horror movies that were actually scary out there, like The Shining, and the Exorcist. They really wanted to get back to horror being scary, and they were both into like documentary, mockumentary kind of things. Like if you remember, Mike, there was that old Leonard Nimoy show, In Search Of,
Oh yes, yeah,
back in the
absolutely.
day, that kind of
Yeah,
played with reality, but it was kind of playing with fiction. You know, it'd cover UFOs and Bigfoot and all of that. And their original
it was
idea for Blair,
entertainment. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, so they wanted to do a movie like that, that was scary, that kind of teased that it was real, but you know, if you looked a little bit closer, you'd know that it wasn't. But they wanted that kind of vibe to it, and that's how they started with doing Blair Witch. And they told the idea to, and they met in film school, and they met what became their producer, Greg Hall. Every time they would talk to someone about this, they would want to get in on it, you know. And Greg Hall said, "You know, I'm not really a producer, but I would love to produce this for you, you know, you guys." And so they paired up with him because they kind of knew he knew his stuff. And there was two other guys that kind of got in at the ground floor of this. So those five guys were sort of like the central thing that kind of built out Blair Witch. And Greg Hal had gone through. He had been in the army, and kind of understood the boot camp and those trainings that you go through, and that informed how they actually shot the Blair Witch. I didn't know this,
Huh.
and let me know if you know this. You know, most of the movie was improv, and what they did was they mapped out their locations ahead of time for filming. They had a base camp where the directors and the producers were at, and they sent out the three actors, Heather, Mike, and Josh, with a GPS tracker and a map and a compass, and said, "Hey, you know, this is the next location you need to go to. Hit these spots." And at those spots, there was like this milk crate, and it would have individual notes for each of the actors saying,
Hmm.
okay, and it wouldn't tell you the scene. They were going, something's going to happen, and it would talk specific about that character. So Mike is going to be um you know you scared by this, and then Heather, she's going to be just going to challenge what's going on. And so it was like it gave them motivations for each of the scenes, but it was then up to the actor to actually provide the acting for that scene. So it was very improv, and a lot of times the actors didn't know what they were going to be walking up on, and so it's like genuine reactions to what what was actually
I
going on.
I had heard a little bit about the behind the scenes a little bit, like just from like just the years of like falling into I don't know, umpteen million YouTube videos current day
Yeah.
to like like every once in a while they would have something on like normal network TV, like talking about. I like film channels, and once in a
Hmm.
while they'll have like a special on something, or
Hmm.
I'm talking about over like the last 25 years. I'm not talking about like yesterday, like it was like I'm talking about like going through the stages of having TV and cable and all that to having none of it and just being online all the time. But
Absolutely.
no, I had heard that they did it in such a way to make the not acting like
Yeah.
genuine. I mean, acting
Hmm.
of course, yes, but genuine kind of Oh, like, and
Yeah.
it's not hard to have that happen in the woods and it's dark out anyway. You're already, for crying out there, it's like you're literally living a campfire story. I mean, and
Yeah.
that's what gets this thing going, and then it also kicks off the other thing I've also seen happen that comes from like things like the Blair Witch, like with people talking about it and whatnot, or the urban legends, right? So that's another aspect that kind of comes in of like, I guarantee you, wherever you live in the United States, some county over yonder or right where you live, there's something that happened, and there's
Yeah.
there's always some kind of like something else out there that is you know that's what
Absolutely.
the compelling part that makes it
Mhm.
interesting, because it's like, well,
Yeah.
what happens next? That's the natural
Well,
draw.
yeah. Yeah, and there's the early on they go around and they talk to residents of Burkittsville, and some of them were actual residents and some of them were actor inserts in there that would actually give dumps of information, like the old guy in the convenience store. He was an actor, that gave a lot of it, but they didn't tell the actors, Heather, Mike, and Josh, which of the people were actual actors and which were citizens of the town. So they said, "Hey, go out, go ask questions, Heather. Go ask everybody questions in this place." So they kind of had to talk to everybody to find those actors that were going to give them information. And one of the my favorite scenes in the movie is when Heather talks to this lady, and she has her little daughter on her arm, and she's trying to tell the story about the Blair Witch, and the little girl gets upset and starts putting her hand over mom's mouth,
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah,
it's
yeah.
so yeah, it's such an engaging shot where yeah, how could they actually have talked that kid into doing that? And no, it was all real. The lady wasn't even one of the actors. She just was playing along with the scenario, and but yeah, it was yeah, that's such a interesting way to film this with with it almost the script was only 35 pages, just kind of outlining what they wanted to happen in the movie. All of the dialogue was pretty much improv. Like even with the old guy kind of giving you the backstory of the that killer that kills the kids. It's he was just given kind of a random history note. Say, hey, kind of cover these beats. But you're not reciting this. You're kind of telling what you know of it. So if you misremember something, that's cool, because if it was real life, you would misremember it anyway. So it was very organic how they got everybody to get through that.
React, right?
Yeah, exactly. And when they hired the three main actors, they went to California, New York, and they said that they found the best success in New York because in their asking for actors, they put in that you'd be camping. It was going to be kind of guerrilla style acting, improv acting, and that you're going to be camping and you'd be uncomfortable. And they said that the New York actors were a little bit more into that, or prepared, or willing to do that. And basically, in the interview, they obviously didn't have any script dialogue, so they gave them a scenario. They said beforehand, before they walked in the door, they said, "Hey, you're going to be coming into us like you're um, a convicted prisoner, and you're putting a case forward for you to be paroled early." And if the actor came in and acted confused and not really sure and started asking questions, they were immediately out. If they walked in already acting in the role of a convicted prisoner and played it up, they were there. And they said that during the middle of it, one of the directors would start talking about his leaky pipes, and then leading the actor to maybe switch over to being a plumber. And those that caught on and played along with them and kind of kept in character or changed characters when it was appropriate, those were the actors that they were interested in. And they said they interviewed like thousands of them, and they were able to narrow it down to like 15 people through that process. And Heather was one of the only ones that actually was was went in and was saying maybe she shouldn't be paroled, that maybe she was a danger to society, and they were so engaged. And actually, they were going to just have three male um, filmmakers out in the
Yeah,
woods, but she impressed them so much that they
she made
changed
the
the
cut.
gender. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
That's
So
funny.
even back then, there were gender swapping, the evil gender swapping. But no, I think it benefited the movie
Yeah.
to have that. Um, but yeah, it just shows you on every level. They were kind of having fun with what a movie could or should or shouldn't be. They were breaking the rules, but they had a plan. They weren't just breaking them willy nilly. Each stage of the process was only there to make the movie better.
Right.
And the whole thing with them doing the guerrilla style filmmaking, with them actually they shot for 8 days, and it was 24/7 filming. They it was when they when the actors were awake, and even they even got woken up and had to start filming. They were the people. There's only that one scene that they added later with the guy in the yellow cap giving that interview in the street. That was the only thing that wasn't shot by the actors. Everything else was shot by hand by the actors, and so it was really up to them to capture everything. And they said a lot of the footage was just the camera facing the ground and them walking silently. But hey, that was easy to cut out. But yeah, there's obviously some really gold stuff in there that they caught.
Well, the whole thing was it was a perfect storm of timing, technology, psychological manipulation that created not just the movie but a genuine cultural event. I mean,
Mhm.
this was this was pre 9/11 America. Like the internet was becoming mainstream, and you had this film that weaponized uncertainty. About
Mhm.
what was real and what wasn't. it it added to that because it was in that time of like, well, okay, it could, like most people knew this was just like a movie, but
Mhm.
it still, like you said, it hit the way that it came in, and the way that different scenes were done and how they methodically did this on such a short, time crunch. I mean, it just like
Yeah, yeah.
we and the thing, the idea that you cannot make a full featured film that is compelling on all levels and can also make a shit ton of money. That's why they do this. We have talked about and covered many of these kind of films that are okay, maybe it's not great right off. Like the worst case is it doesn't catch, right? But then something later on and it catches, and there's money there somewhere. But how these things catch, like this is just one of the many ones, like where that this is like we're only going to see more of these kind of things, but like the YouTube generation version of this, would be what it is. So
Yeah, yeah. And in the 2000s, you had creepy pasta, and from creepy pasta came ARGs that are prevalent today. There's the Marvel Hornets. That's a big ARG out there that the kids are all into. That came earlier. That kind of revolves around. I think it's a Slender Man that one does. But yeah, the granddaddy of it all is Blair Witch, obviously. But yeah, when they were filming, they would like I said, they had little drop zones that would give them motivations, but it would also give them food. Like the morning, they would give them food, and they said that as the days passed, they got less and less food, so that they would kind of feel the hunger pains of what the characters should be going through. So it wasn't an easy thing, and they knew that one of the characters, be a little spoilery, but one of the characters wasn't going to make it to the end, and they uh the real the real interactions between the characters, they didn't have a whole lot of time to go through all of the footage, but they kind of scanned it a little bit when the actors went to bed for the night in their little tent, and they realized that Josh and Heather were really going at it. They could tell that the not only the characters but the real actors were kind of getting on each other's nerves, and that it probably wasn't going to pay out to continue him. Actually, Heather and Josh were supposed to originally make it to the end. Those were the two. But Josh was being very antagonistic towards Heather, and they really had to cut back a lot of the arguments because it really seemed like the guys were ganging up on Heather, and that two guys ganging up on a woman didn't play real well on screen. So they had to cut out most of the stuff between Josh and Heather, and kind of amp up the stuff between her and Mike, because that was supposed to be where the antagonism was. But yeah, so about halfway through, they realized that Josh had a nope out, so they pulled him out. They gave him a note saying, "Hey, come out of your tent tonight. Yeah, just come out tonight. Don't let the other actors know." And they told him, "Hey, you're gone. We're going to record some messages, some voice work from you for later, but you're gone." And he was actually very ecstatic because he had a Jane's Addiction concert he needed to get to, and the actor did, and so he was very happy about getting let off early because
That's funny.
evidently it was a pretty rough shooting. And so Heather and Mike had to fend it out, and also like a lot of the details, like you would think the actors would know, they didn't. Like one of the notes that they gave Mike was, "Hey, don't let the other actors see it, but get rid of that map." And so so Mike gets
Hmm.
rid of the map. He thought that they actually saw him do it, but they didn't. So they got rid of the map. So when they realized, and Mike admits to getting rid of the map, that's genuine emotion between the
Huh.
other two actors yelling at him for getting rid of that map. And so the things that you thought was acting was really just raw emotions just pouring out, and the fact that they're pretty much not getting any sleep. It's 24/7. um a lot of that was raw emotion that were there. These actors were on the breaking point during a lot of it, and in fact, to find out how things play out, like at the very beginning when they're supposed to walk off into the forest, the actors miss their cue and actually walk in the wrong direction, so immediately before they even step into the woods, they step off into the woods in the wrong direction. So, and they said that they got lost 3 times
Oh
during
wow.
the filming. And there's a portion of it one of the days where they filmed, and you see it in the actual film, is it's raining, and it was raining very hard, and the directors and the crew, they would break the tent, break it down, and move it to the next location. But since it was raining so hard, it kind of slowed them down to get to the next destination. That because they had their scheduled, you know, tent drop. They knew the actors had to get to this point for the tent and for them to settle down for the night. And so they were both the crew tries to get there beforehand to set up everything, so that when the actors get there, everything's all set up for them. But the actors, since it was raining so hard, they were trying to get to that location as quickly as possible. So they showed up 2 hours early, whereas the crew was way behind, and the actors were waiting around like, "Hey, what the hell?" And so they actually tracked off in a direction they didn't know where. They found a house. A lady let them in, even though they looked crazy. Let them use the phone. They called and they got them a motel for the night, and so that they could dry out because of the rain and everything. But that was the only night where they got to stay at a hotel. But yeah, after that they tried to refilm it the next day, but the footage during the rain was so good. It was so dark and dreary. And then the next day was bright and shiny, and it just didn't have the same mood as it. So they ended up using that, and then at night they doubled up on the scenes, so they filmed the night for that night that they they slept in the hotel. They refilmed that stuff. But yeah, and when they were sleeping, the crew was still active. They're the ones that would set up those little
Oh,
rocks outside. Yeah,
okay.
and
Yeah, no
the
kidding.
different the
Yeah.
different the different stuff that they
Huh.
found. So when the actors got out, their reactions were real. They were like, "Oh wow, what's this?" They didn't realize that there would be rocks out there. Um, so
That's crazy.
a lot of that was a surprise to them. And then like the children's voices outside and them tapping on the tent, they didn't know what was going on, so those were real emotions. So a lot of the stuff that they experienced. And there was like a bundle of sticks that shows up later on. And Heather immediately just throws it away. And the
Right.
crew knew that she needed to open it because there was a little surprise for her inside. If you've seen the movie, you know what she gets to see in there. But but they had to quickly kind of give her a note saying, "Hey, open up that bundle, and there's a little
Hmm.
surprise in there." So,
That's
so
funny.
yeah, so they did have to step in every once in a while. And also anytime they had to break character, the actors had to break character, or the directors had to break character, to let them know, it's sort of like a safe word. It was taco. So anytime they had to break character, they had to scream taco, and it's like, okay, that meant, hey, it's stop filming. We're being real here.
That's
So
funny.
but yeah, it's very fascinating, the whole how they filmed it. And the originally, like I said, it was supposed to be a documentary, so it was that footage was only going to be about
Right.
20 minutes worth of the movie. The rest of it was supposed to be interviews with the police that were trying to track them down, and the traditional stuff you would find in a documentary about lost people. You would have the filmmakers interviewing family and friends, and interviewing everybody. So that stuff, they started filming that stuff. That was like the second phase of shooting. The first phase of shooting was all of the stuff with Heather, Mike, and Josh. And then they quickly realized, well, some of them realized straight off that, hey, the movie was what they just filmed. And then some of the other people were pretty stringent on their vision of what they wanted it to be, and they kept trying to wedge in that documentary stuff. But every time, when they would show it to an audience, they'd immediately want to get back to the filmmakers. They didn't want to watch that documentary stuff. So they quickly realized, they had the movie was that lost footage, that found footage.
That's awesome. Yeah. No. Well, I mean, whether you take Heather, abrasive, unlikable, but that's what makes her real, or the Mike character in the map. I mean,
Mhm.
it you know
Yeah,
it
absolutely. And
and and
that
and
scene. Mhm.
and they were purposely screwing with them anyway, like making
Right,
noises,
yeah.
like even off camera. I'm not talking about off camera, like just the
Hmm.
setting the scene, for huh, let's make sure these guys get a, before the alarm goes off. Let's make it a little
Absolutely.
bit extra unbearable.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a scene before they go off into the forest where they're kind of getting drunk in the hotel
One
room.
second.
Uh-huh.
Go ahead, Tom. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's a hotel room and they were getting drunk. They actually did get drunk. They had them they supplied them alcohol and they were they they got a little drunk, but that kind of let them see the personality of the actors and kind of see what they were who they were as characters, and that were able to maybe cater their emotions during the film shooting. But yeah, there's I think some of the deleted scenes is from that, because I forget how many hours. I think they said they shot 8 hours of them in the hotel room getting drunk. So I'm sure that there's some interesting scenes in there. I think they said at one point the two guy actors were reciting poetry together. So that would have been interesting to see. There's a little bit of so this the footage is supposed to take place in 1994, but it was shot in 1997. So there's a couple of scenes that are that aren't time congruent. Like when they went shopping for food, the brand, the power bars they got, the flavor, the oatmeal raisin was the flavor back in 1994. It came out in 1996, so that wasn't time specific. And then when they're driving around early on, you could see some cars out there that would that weren't made in 1994, that were made a little bit more recent. But
Right.
you can look that stuff.
Right. Yeah.
And also the first night that they camped, they let the actors set up the tent and everything so they could film them setting up the tent and stuff. But after that, to take off the pressure of the actors, those packs look pretty heavy, but they took a lot of the stuff out and would transfer that for them. And also they would break down and put up the tent for them as well. So there's that one scene after the shit goes down, and they're like,
Right.
Heather, we gotta go, and she's kind of dragging her feet. You don't see them breaking down the tent, which the directors were kind of pissed off at the actors, because they knew the crew was going to come in and break it down for them. But if they were really in that rush, they would have been breaking down that tent. So
Right. Right.
that was a little bit a break of immersion there, if you kind of studied that scene.
Right. Right.
Because the actor's like, oh, we don't have to mess with that tent.
Right.
But yeah, you were talking about the viral marketing. I think once they were done with the film and they were trying to sell it, one of the things Ed Sanchez, one of the writers directors, he actually knew how to design websites. He was familiar with HTML and actually set up the Blair Witch project.com. I don't know if that's still a site. I didn't check that. But he originally set up that site, and a lot of that documentary stuff that they were going to put in the movie but then cut out, he put it up on the website. And they set up early on. They set up a chat, a message board for people to chat, and that's where the first groundswelling of the fans before the movie even came out. They started speculating about the Blair Witch, and some of them thought it was real, some of them didn't, kind of
Right.
knew. On the website, they didn't hide it. They had the film company down at the bottom, and if you dug on the website, you could find out that it wasn't real. But those that wanted to pretend that it was real, it was there. And so this was the very first instant of viral marketing. And I think that really helped the movie. You had that ground swelling, and one of the fans of the site actually got on one of the major um, uh, FM radio shows at the time. I forget the name of it. I think it was like Mike and Brian or something like that. But they talked about the website, and yeah, that kind of, and that was in, I think, in LA, I think the radio station was, and it got broadcast over the nation, so that kind of blew up the website as well. And okay, there it is. And so yeah, that it just
Yet,
became this grand swelling of fan based stuff that really took over.
yeah, it, it
Um,
it featured missing person flyers, photos of abandoned
mhm.
belongings, a
I
timeline
think,
of the Blair Township, the history of the videos. There was a lot of other things that, like, kind of, drip, 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 kind of type things,
mhm.
that
And
added
Heather's diary. Yep.
right,
Hmm.
yeah, it just added to the whole, you know uh pay
Yeah.
attention.
Yeah. Yeah, and they didn't want the website to just be a marketing tool. They really wanted to reward the fans. They wanted to drop stuff that was engaging and interesting. I think I think the thing that Hollywood and a lot of viral marketers that came after lost the lesson. They think it's just to, throw stuff out cynically to the audience, but really it's about forming a community, and respecting that community, and getting them to engage, and rewarding them with coming back each day to the website, and adding to the mystery, and keep it going. So I mean, this website went on for a few years before the movie actually came out, you know?
Right, right.
So so there's that huge buzz. And then I think when they went to Sundance Film Festival, they got in there, and their movie was on a VHS tape. That's how crazy this movie was. It wasn't on film; it was on a VHS tape. So they had to pay, and Sundance only accepted 35 millimeter prints. So they actually had to take a lot of the budget, almost the budget of filming it was like 60,000, and then 40,000 they had to pay 40,000 extra to get this thing put on 35 millimeter. So that was a huge price thing for them. And but they got it on 35 millimeter, but when they were getting it processed, evidently one of the people processing it watched the movie and knew it was good, and made a copy of that VHS tape. So, and spread it around. It didn't get out to the public, but a lot of the Hollywood people had seen it and were whispering about it, and were talking about it. And that kind of frustrated the filmmakers, because, hey, Hollywood is talking about this movie like it's this dirty little secret, but none of them wants to, buy it. And
Right,
um,
right.
and they knew that they didn't want Miramax to get the movie, or the reason why they didn't want Miramax to get it, the Weinsteins, because they were famous for buying movies and never releasing them, putting them on the shelf. So they said if they sold to Miramax, that the contract would specifically say that it had to be released, because they didn't want it to just go away. And which was they didn't have to worry about it, because the Weinsteins didn't understand the movie. They just didn't get it. And
Well,
it was,
not
yeah.
surprising. I mean, it is cutting edge, and it is like, I mean, they're saying we can make this thing into a thing, and that's, just unbelievable. If
Yep,
you're
yep,
normal
yep.
Hollywood
And
studio exec.
yeah, and with the marketing guys for them, really kind of knew how to do it. Like it was a lot of guerrilla marketing. The website, when they went to Sundance, they put posters everywhere. And there was, they had a midnight showing of it, and it was sold out. It was, a line wrapped around, and it wasn't just, media and film people that wanted to see the movie. It was a lot of, horror fans that were
Right.
lined up, and they kind of knew that they had something at that point. And the marketing guy said, "Hey, if you sell this movie, we're not selling this less than $1 million. This is at least $1 million movie." And that's what they got from Artisan. Artisan was the ones that were the ones that kind of understood it and understood. They kind of went a little bit overboard, a little bit more so than the filmmakers wanted. Um, they marketed the movie like it was found footage. The originally on the IMDb, the actors were listed as either deceased or missing, and they didn't want the actors to show in any of the marketing for the first couple of weeks because Artisan really played up the fact that maybe this was real, that this was real footage, and the directors kind of felt that was kind of disrespectful to the actors and weren't really all on board with that, but they really couldn't do anything because that was Artisan at that point had taken over. But yeah, better or worse, it blew up. There was a huge um groundswell of excitement for this movie. It became huge. Everybody had to see this movie, like you were talking about. Like I said, I went
Right.
to a sold out showing. They opened it limited, and then it kind of blew up. And every week they had to increase the theater size. And it never hit number one at the box office, but it was stayed at number two for like 3 weeks. And it eventually went out, but worldwide it made uh 249 million dollars at the box office, which is Artisan thought they were going to get like 10 million. And yeah, when they had signed and went to dinner with Artisan and Cannes Film Festival, the filmmakers, one of them, Ed St. No, it was Dan Merrick, was talking to the head of Artisan and said, "Hey, what do you think this movie's going to do?" And he said, "I think it'll hit south of 10 million." And Dan said, because there were the the guys that were the crew of um Blair Witch was really into foosball at the time. He said, you know, if the movie makes 30 million, will you buy us a professional grade foosball table, competition ready foosball table? And he said, yeah. And they made that 30 million in the first weekend. And Dan wrote the head of Artisan and said, "Hey, where's their foosball table?" And within a few days they got their foosball table, and none of them predicted that it was going to make that $250 million and become in the same week. They were both on the cover of Newsweek and Time.
Right.
Yeah, that's not a big deal now, but back then it was like a huge deal. And they remember going into like a Barnes and Nobles, and every movie magazine had Blair Witch on the cover. And I think you probably remember that as well. Blair Witch was everywhere.
Oh
Everybody was
God.
talking about it. The people were debating whether or not it was real or not. I always, since I was reading Fangoria, I never thought that it wasn't real, never thought that it was real. But yeah, one of my, I enjoyed the people that thought it was real and would play along with them. But the people that were in the know kind of had a little chuckle with the people that thought it was real.
Right. What? Well, it just goes back to the kind of final moments of the scene. Like where you know it, people are on their breaking point or they already have broken. It's just really good. I
Yeah,
don't want to give
yeah,
anything away. I'll keep it there, but yeah.
yeah. It's a very interesting movie. Yeah, yeah. You could argue and say, "Well, I never even show the witch," but I think it plays pretty well. There's all these different theories. You know, you never get to see the witch or the whatever's haunting them. So it could all have been in their head. The it could have been the force kind of screwing with them. I think what when I think YouTuber put the idea that maybe Josh and Mike uh went out to the woods to kill Heather, that Josh was actually Heather's former boyfriend, and the whole thing was to mess with Heather. and to kill her at the end. That Josh disappears, but he's not really disappeared. He went off, and he was the one that comes at the end and kills Heather. And then Mike's in the corner, play it along with the whole scenario. There's some scenes in it that kind of like whenever the tent was attacked by an outside force and they run out and see something out in the woods, Heather screams, "What's that?" What the hell is that? um and a little side note, the thing that she sees is they had a guy dressed up in white long johns, white underwear, long johns, and a white pantyhose over his head, and he's running around out there alongside her. And they were supposed to kind of like get a glimpse of him so that you'd see like some white image out in the woods that might have been the witch, but they were so scared that they didn't get a shot of that. So but I think it works without that. The fact that during the whole movie you're looking out, you're looking at the screen and kind of looking to see when they're looking out in the forest, you're scanning it to see maybe catch a glimpse of the witch, that it really plays on that thing of what's really out there. And you're listening to the creaks and the breaks of the woods. You're the first time you see it, you're anticipating what's going to happen, and you don't know what's going to happen. And that fear of the unknown, what they're feeling as they do it, it really puts you into the movie, so to speak. And I think that plays to the horror of it. That one lady that you saw there, the Patty, she she was one of the interns that they had on the set, and she plays like she tells you a little bit of the history of it. That there's like she has that little gate, that little wooden gate that they go to. That's actually her residence. None of that was set up. The whole little gate was made by her.
Hmm.
That whole atmosphere of her was her. They said that she was really quite a character. That
That's awesome.
she was one of the college students that answered one of the ads. She was the only one that answered the ad to be an intern, and they said they called her the oldest college student.
That's funny.
But
Yeah, I mean, even going back to like the car, like you just don't see that. You used to see a million of those cars around. You know what I mean? Like, I mean,
yeah,
just the if you had lived during that time, you would know that kids of the '90s or whatever, or teens of the '90s anyway. But for sure, yeah, great found footage movie, broke the
and
mold, and it
absolutely,
works. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
you can nitpick, like there's the like any good. Here's the thing: when you're successful, you're gonna have parody. You're gonna have people poking fun at you. That only
yeah.
goes to add to the whole bill. So
Yeah, anything that blows up, you're gonna have that moment where everybody's
right,
into it, and then you're gonna have that second phase where everybody doesn't like it. There's those that oh, it was overhyped, this, oh that, it's not as great as everybody says it is. It's like with anything that blows up, you're gonna have
right,
your big fans that stay tried and true, but then there's gonna be that second wave that people get sick of it and say, oh, on second thought, it's not the best movie, it's the worst movie ever, and blah blah blah. You're gonna have that, and I think one of the things that the filmmakers were kind of upset with Artisan about is that Artisan wanted a sequel right away. The movie came out in July, and then it was still in theaters in October, and it was coming out in DVD in October, and they wanted another movie, a second
hmm,
movie out by that next October, and they were saying, "Hey, that's too soon." And by the time that people were getting sick of Blair Witch, that's when it kind of came out. And they wanted to do something, but they didn't want to do something right away. So they kind of noped out all the original people, even though they were the executive producers of the second movie, and they were supposed to have an influence on the second movie. They didn't want really much of a part of the sequel, and the artisan kind of wanted to do, got to get into the history of the witch, not do it as found footage. And there was like the fans don't want that. They want you to kind of keep that going on, and the found footage portion of it. And so they argued with Artisan every step of the way of the making of the sequel. And
Hmm.
but Artisan didn't. They said that they went through a bunch of meetings where it sounded like they were listening to them, but once they got out, they ignored everything they said. And in the guy that was the writer director, he said, no, this will work. But by the end of it, Artisan had taken it out of his hands even, and kind of did what they wanted to do with the movie. Which I know you enjoyed it. I kind of enjoy it to a certain extent, but it's not
Sure.
the sequel that the fans wanted.
No,
And
no.
that's why
When
and
I
there was
say
already.
yeah,
Mhm.
when I say I like it, I love it. The fact is, it's just because it's nostalgia a little bit. Because I remember seeing it. I went to the theater. I have my
Mhm.
own my own relationship with
Yeah.
the thing. So I
Right.
recognize though that it was not. Think it was a flop, but
Oh
anyway,
yeah,
but
yeah. It killed because they wanted a franchise. They wanted, because this Blair Witch was the biggest movie that they had. So before that was Pie, that made $3 million. The fact that this movie made $249 million at the box office, that was huge. So they wanted to make this a franchise. They wanted it to be a thing. And yeah, they were planned at least three movies, and the second one did so bad they canceled the third movie. But yeah, they quickly understood that maybe they had kind of botched botched it. And because this movie, it had video games that came out on it. Like you said, there was parody movies, and even Scooby-Doo did a parody of it. uh they uh they did there was a couple of pornos inspired by Blair Witch. So it was very much in the consciousness of the public. You made it big when there's a porno movie based off your movie. But yeah, there's there was a lot. It was definitely in the consciousness of the public, and it's never left. If you mention the movie, someone's going to have an opinion on it. But yeah, it's one of those movies that is going to live forever. Like you said, they're looking to reboot or do another Blair Witch movie. I know they did a movie in the 2010s. I didn't see that one. I think it came out in,
I
was
didn't
it
see it either.
2016 or 14? Yeah.
2016. Yeah, I believe you're right. Yeah. No, I didn't see that one. And I'm not poo pooing it. I probably one day I'll shit. We might
I'm kind of
we
I'm kind
might
of
want to.
interested.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm kind of interested because one of the director of it, director and writer, are the writer and director of one of the segments of VHS. So so we know and we love VHS. So yeah, I'm kind of curious see what they did with that one. But yeah, obviously it's probably not as big or revolutionary as Blair Witch, but yeah, I'm sure it's definitely something to check out. And also,
Yes.
a little side note: the last day of filming was on Halloween, and I didn't realize that this guy was kind of filmed a few days before Halloween, and you do see like the Halloween stuff, decorations around the town. So this kind of gives you that little extra spooky vibes, and it kind of makes sense for us to cover it for Halloween.
Yeah. No. That's the thing. I was gonna say. Current news. Let me see here. Yeah, like I said at the top of the show, like a new Blair Witch project is in development at Lionsgate and Blumhouse Productions. Well, I didn't say this actually, but it was announced at CinemaCon 2024. Director Oliver Park has been reportedly attached to the project following a year of silence about the reboot. Um, Although there was a controversy because the original creators, Daniel and Eduardo, were not consulted, and they expressed frustration about that. And then cast members like Joshua Leonard, he slammed the reboot.
Yeah,
You
the
know,
one thing that the bad thing I could say about the movie is, especially with Artisan, and they didn't treat the actors right.
oh, I would imagine not. No,
Josh, Mike, and Heather. They weren't paid much for the movie, and they knew that there was going to be a problem after, I think, the first week of it being out and being a huge hit. They sent the actors a fruit basket. Artisan sent them a fruit basket, and that was about it. And they thought maybe they would get a little bit more extra money when the movie was released. They never got any movie, so Heather got together with the other two actors and they sued Artisan. They ended up with $300,000 each, which is, they should have got that anyway. It's just sad that they had to sue
right.
them for it. So yeah, I'm glad that they finally got it. Heather said that she regrets letting them use her real name in the movie. The fact, because that the movie kind of followed her and kind of she felt was a deterrent to her acting career, with her name being prominently on the movie. She since changed her name and has got into medical marijuana, the selling of it. So she's doing all right. She's no longer an actress, but she's out there
Yeah,
doing her
well,
thing.
that just kind of comes from her. There's just some regret about using their first name, their real name, anyway.
Yeah,
And just like anything, there's going to be a little bit of sour grapes, and the only thing that sucks
yeah,
is that it would be beneficial to make nice, but 25 years, and you know what? Like look at us.
yeah.
you know, we're of that. We're easily between me and you. Like we're of that generation and whatnot. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed this. This is a classic one to go see and
Mhm.
watch. Especially to suspend disbelief. Disbelief. You'll you'll
Mhm.
you'll you'll like it. I'll put it that way.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, and yeah, if you haven't seen it and you watched it this far, why'd you let us spoil the movie for you? Definitely go check it out and enjoy it. Definitely a great movie to end our found footage month with, and stay tuned for what we have in store for you next month. It might not be as scary, but I think it'll be just as interesting. Um, Maybe not as brutal as this, but hey, um, all right. I think we're done here, unless you had some extra stuff you wanted to
Yes, I
cover.
can hear you, Clump Fandango. Yes, I can hear you. Yes. Nuclear missiles. That's horrible. I should have stopped. I've been Mike.
And I'm Tom. Keep it brutal.